Hello, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, whatever time of day, wherever you are in the world, tuning in. Thank you for joining me. My name is Marc Caron, and this is your wake up call. I'm coming to you live here from Vancouver, British Columbia, and your wake up call is a program I put together for PMC Global, the Pyramid Meditation channel with PSSM Global as well. And I'm really happy to be part of the Pyramid Meditation Society and the work that they do. And it's just an honor to be here to share, my gifts or the things that I have on my mind with you, to really with the intention of making a difference in your life. And, being your wake up call, the idea is to let's wake up. Let's wake up to a new reality. Let's wake up to a new way of being. Let's wake up to maybe some truth in our lives, in the world. But it's just really about waking up to being our true, authentic, self-expressed selves. And that's really what I love to talk about, because I am passionate about growth and transformation. And I love seeing people wake up to a new reality and new possibilities. Because really, we all have possibilities for our life. What's the possibility for your life? What is it you'd love to see, achieve, create? Because it is all within our own abilities. It's one of my favorite quotes in the world these days is, there's never a lack of resources, because the world is abundant with all sorts of resources to create anything we can pretty much imagine. And it's our resourcefulness, our lack of resourcefulness in most cases, where we don't get creative, we don't get innovative enough to, find the solutions for what we might perceive as problems or obstacles to really get what it is that we want. So be resourceful. One of the best ways to be resourceful is really to ask questions. Questions are a great way to find new answers, and to ask questions of people who may actually have the answers and be able to help you. So resourcefulness, that's the key to really creating anything it is that we really want in our lives. And how creative we can be within that, how innovative we can be, and how determined. Because as long as we're really committed, we can do pretty much anything. It's when we give up that we give up on our dreams. So I encourage you, and I would love to help you, help inspire you so that you can actually achieve all that it is that you want in your life and be fulfilled at the same time. So today on your wake up call, I chose the topic of intuition. Interestingly enough, it's been a topic that came up a number of times throughout my day and in a few different conversations. So I thought it would be a great opportunity to follow my intuition and talk about intuition this evening. So, we hear about intuition a lot. And within intuition, what is it really? Well, the definition of intuition is really the ability to understand something immediately without the need for conscious reasoning. It's like an instinct, a sixth sense, a divination, a clairvoyance. It's also, a thing or someone knows or would consider likely from being instinctive feeling, again, rather than conscious reasoning. Have you ever had that gut feeling, that feeling in your gut? That's intuition. That's a part of your whole neurological system that's tuning into the energy of what's going on. And for me, and I think it could very well be different for many people, but for me, it lands right in my solar plexus, where I get a feeling and a knowing. And it often, will creep up and be part in my heart, because my heart will feel it too. You get this knowing. And it's one of those things that you got to follow. Intuition is such a powerful, innate resource, right? We talk about resourcefulness. It's a resource that so many of us, and including myself, never really listened to, and not often enough if we did listen to it. I've been following my intuition for a number of years now. And, there's days when I'm really listening, and there's days that I'm not, and I second guess and I doubt. And, in the past few years, I've had a number of different experiences where I felt and sensed something. I got a feeling in my body. And then I was wondering kind of, okay, what's up? What does that mean? What's going on? And then to later find out that, maybe what I was thinking, what I was feeling was actually true. I had one situation one time, and a great example is I had a friend, and I'd asked my friend a question because I had this funny feeling. And they gave me an answer that I was like, oh, okay, great. I was listening to something that, what was that feeling? It must have not been anything. Well, interestingly enough, about a week later, I heard another story from someone else and realized that my friend had actually lied to me. And I thought, interesting, because I felt it when I was being lied to. But of course, because I trust people and I take people at their word, I actually thought my intuition was wrong, and I had mistaken it and made up a story in my head, or however that panned out, only to find out that I was actually right. Has that ever happened to you? We can sense when people are lying to us or not telling us the truth or not being fully open. There's a sense and an energy that comes with, truth and communication. And your intuition will pick it up. It's a very, very powerful thing. It also kind of reminds me, like, I remember being in grade school and early high school. We'd be writing tests and doing different things, and all of a sudden you go back and you look at your answer and you second guess your answer. Have you ever done that? Because I certainly have. And every time I second guessed my answer and I changed it, my answer was wrong. And the first answer was right. So it was kind of following and trusting our inner self and that guidance when, we're responding or communicating or feeling. I find it's really important to tune into that and listen to it. And I think what happens too, and so much of the Western world, as we speak of in that kind of belief, we get so busy being busy. We're so bombarded and polluted by the media, television, radio, magazines, advertising, newspapers. All sorts of people are vying for attention. Companies with their branding on bus stops and buses and trucks and, the stuff that we see everywhere. It runs rampant, right? And when this happens, it's my belief anyways that it kind of clouds up our mind and our energy field, because we start picking things up out of the ether and energetic waves of different things that aren't even ours or are not meant for us, because everything becomes energy. So when we talk about intuition and how do we tune in to our intuition? Because we all have it, that sixth sense that, Spider-Man had it. He had the spider sense, right? He had intuition, knowing what was going on. And it's it becomes a very interesting thing when we become aware of it. Because awareness is the expanses of consciousness. As we expand our awareness, we expand our consciousness, our intuition becomes more into play. And all of a sudden it'll communicate to us through nonverbal, maybe not like a physical touch type sensation, but it'll come as a feeling and a knowing in your gut. Oh, Manusha, thank you. Manisha says, wow, that's wonderful. She's ignored her intuition for many years, and one day without thinking, followed her heart. Then all of her life changed. And she's followed her heart to visit pyramid in India and then transformed. I love it because we're on the pyramid meditation channel and the pyramid, science channel. And I love to see that there has been, transformation through the work that we're all doing. And, God bless Patrici and the work he's done in India with the pyramid meditation power. And I just want to say thank you for your comment, because it's really nice for us to hear that the work that we're doing is actually reaching people and making a difference. So, We talk about intuition and following, and that's the whole thing. Because have you ever turned right when you're driving, walking, riding your bike when you normally turn left, just to find out that there might have been an accident left that day, but you just felt this instinct to go right? It happens. I've heard and seen these stories many times where people make it a decision to do something they wouldn't normally do because they had a feeling. Have you ever heard of those people who've had a feeling they should buy a lottery ticket today and they won the jackpot? We hear stories like that, people who haven't bought a ticket regularly, where some people buy tickets every day, all the time. And these people, they get this intuition, they follow their gut. Or you pick something, you'll feel out what's going on so that you can make the best decision based on a feeling. So when we get into our intuition in that sense, we become a much more powerful divine tool for transforming ourselves and even the lives of others. So you might wonder, okay, well, intuition, well, that's great. We all have it. I'm not feeling mine. What's going on? I'm going to ask you to just think back to a time in your life when you did feel something in your gut, when you knew something was right, or maybe you knew it was wrong, yet the evidence around you or the information coming into you through your other senses was actually telling you something different. I'm sure we've all had it at some point in our lives, at least once. If not, please make a comment in the comment section. I'd like to know, because it's always curious to me where that happens. And I know when I was younger, I seemed to be a little more intuitive until I got plugged up with, social conditioning and things of that nature. Then I unlearned a bunch of things and changed my life, and my intuition just became razor sharp. And a conversation I was having with a friend of mine this morning, and I was like, now when my intuition speaks, I listen and I don't doubt it. So how do we really, sharpen our intuition? How do we tune into it in a way that we can actually use it as a tool for growth, for change, for awakening, for higher consciousness? Well, these are things you've all heard before, folks, because there's really no secret to living the best blessed life that we can. And one of the things, first and foremost, is really how we take care of our health. And I mean mentally, physically, spiritually. And when we start in our body, because our body is like the antenna that's picking up all this energy. So we start in there. And if you really want to heighten your intuition, clean your body. What do I mean by clean your body? Cleanse and detox. Eliminate, the acidic things that we put into our bodies, like coffee and tea and sugar and meat and dairy. Run your vessel clean. Drink lots of water. Breathe really well. We've talked about breath, if you've followed any of my programs, where we can actually, take bigger, slower, more peaceful breaths. Because when we do that, actually everything slows down and it calms things, so we can actually listen more. I always highly recommend, organic plant-based diet, only because, it's the way to go. With the Pyramid Meditation Society here, one of our principles is plant-based diet. We don't kill anything, including animals, right? Which is a really important thing. And I think there's an energetic factor there as well. But the cleaner that we can eat, the cleaner that we can take care of our body in a way that respects it and honors our temple, so that we can be more dialed in to the, to the divine energy that's all around us all the time. And it was a funny little story I remember. When I became a blessing giver years ago after my oneness experience, it was one of their main instructions was, if people were smokers, that they should quit smoking, because the power of the blessing of the Diksha would be reduced for smokers and things. And I was wondering about cannabis at the time, because cannabis has been a plant ally friend of mine for for a number of years. And so I asked the question, and the woman said to me, she says, it's not that. It's not the what's in the substance of these plants. It's the fact that people are smoking cigarettes or whatever they're smoking, and it clogs up all their nerves, that all that goop from smokers. They get all that stuff, the tar that packs your lungs in and everything else. It would, for those of you who I'm sure may know, and for those who don't, we're electrical creatures, and we're all run by electricity. And between each nerve cells, there's a little jump, a little spark that happens as the nerves communicate, and that's a synapse. And what she was saying is, these tars and these toxins from what people put into their bodies, even dairy. Dairy is really, really a challenging thing because it's like mucus activating, and it's thick, and it's actually, an inflammatory, right? So these are the things that don't always help us in our body function at maximum peak potential. So when we are communing with divine source and energy and picking up other people's energy, the cleaner our vessel is, the more receptive we'll be to it. And that's a really big part, right? Because it just is. Our body is the one thing that connects our consciousness to this earth, to this planet, to our nature. Our body is a bridge between our spirit and our soul and this 3D world, right? So that's one, is the body. Now, second is the mind. And the mind is a fickle thing, right, folks? Like I was talking earlier, we pick up stuff in our head that's not even ours. We pick up thoughts and things that are floating around the ether that aren't even ours, and we take it in. And this is why we wonder sometimes why we're all confused. And, if, are confused, or we don't understand, or that wasn't me, where'd that come from? We need voices in our head. What's going on? Well, we've got a little antenna up here, right? If you can just picture the little antennas picking up everything that's going on out there, with the TV and media, advertising, everywhere we go, social media as well, right? We are getting bombarded by so many people's thoughts, feelings, emotions, opinions, facts, untruths, lies. They're coming at us from all over the place. And when we talk about the advertising that runs so much of that, here you have these big brands worth millions and billions of dollars who are all vying for our attention. So our brain's getting all full up with stuff that's not even ours. It's kind of like your computer. If you don't restart your computer every day or so, or whatever, it starts slowing down, starts getting bunged up because there's little remnants of parts of programs and data and things floating around in the background. Then when you restart your computer, voila, it's running smoother, faster, cleaner, and better than it was previously. So our brain is similar in that way, where we have to kind of clear out and reset where we're at so that we can get clear what thoughts are ours, what thoughts aren't, what thoughts, feelings, and emotions we need to let go and release because they're not ours. We're picking that up from someone else, especially for the highly sensitive empaths, right? They're picking that stuff up everywhere, and they get bombarded. So it's really important to have some sort of a mindfulness practice, a meditation, anything that we can do to slow down and silence our minds, to take the time to relax and release the thoughts that aren't ours, and also to release the thoughts that are ours that we don't need to be hanging on to. Because, when we do that, we start, making a little crazy story in our head or whatever it is, and we get caught on the same thought, right? Everything's a pattern. So we got to interrupt that pattern and release it so we can have an opportunity to sit in stillness, to sit in the present moment, in a beingness where we can tap in to our intuition, to our ability to understand something immediately, right? Without what? Without the need for conscious reasoning. So that's body, that's mind. Well, what about spirit? Part of that was just talking about how, meditation and mindfulness and being able to silence our mind so we can do that. And that is a meditation that helps the mind, but it also helps slow down and balance your heart. Because if you didn't know, and I know our good friend Pari from PMC, she's a heart math certified facilitator. And I know in my heart math experiences and things I've learned through there is, your heart has its own really little brain, and when we can balance our head and our heart in a way that is not disconnected, because when we disconnect and our heart's not kind of leading our head, that's when we get some crazy things going on, and we can't, we get stressed out, we get anxious, we get frustrated, we get confused. And when we can balance into our heart, our head and our heart, what I like to say is that then we have our head our heart leading our head versus our head just leading. And, we're lucky if it leads our heart. Often it doesn't, because it's just leading and our heart kind of gets shut off. But when we do have our heart leading our head, I call that wisdom. Because it's one thing to just be in the head and regurgitate knowledge and information and things, right? It's another thing to lead the knowledge and information with some wisdom and some clarity in a way that can inspire people to, really transform their lives, change the world, and live a more peaceful, fulfilled, blessed life, right? That's kind of how I see it. So intuition, well, those three parts are what I found in my experience that has enhanced my intuition even more. And when you combine the three of them, you can do 1, 2, or 3. And I recommend doing all 3 if you want to really enhance your intuitive self. And being in nature is a whole nother part of enhancing and improving your intuition, because when you're out in nature, it's fresh, it's clean, it's clearing. We can do many different things. We can hug trees. We can go for a swim and cleanse ourselves with the energy in the ocean. We need to connect with nature because we are really human animals. And for many of us, I live in a concrete jungle here in Vancouver, and we're blessed here. We have beautiful parks and mountains and things very close. So nature's not hard to find. And I know for some people, it's not always easy to get out, into nature. So if you can, I highly recommend go hug a tree while you're doing a meditation practice, or a walk through the park with just a stillness. No Walkman. That's kind of funny. No smartphone with your earbuds listening to music. You might want to listen to some, maybe some mantras and things, some higher vibrational music that's going to awaken things. But I wouldn't recommend putting on, like some thrash metal and things like that when you're looking to quiet your mind. I found silence. Silence is one of my favorite friends these days. And I'll tell you what, folks, there was a day when I had to have a TV on or radio on, music on. I couldn't sit in silence. I always wanted to be hanging out with friends or going out and doing things. But I came to a point in my life over the past decade where I love my silence. And I believe that's one of the things that helped really strengthen and sharpen my intuition, because I got to get into myself and I got to clear out the things that were going on inside of me so I can sit in stillness, in peace, in quiet, in bliss, and just being totally comfortable with myself. And now my intuition's on fire. I just follow my gut everywhere I go. And I'd have to say it's always right, because it hasn't really steered me wrong. Where it steered me wrong is actually me not listening to my intuition. Now, for all you viewers out there watching, if there's anybody who'd like to join me and to have a conversation about intuition, I would love to speak with you. It's one of the things that I have a vision for in this show. I was speaking with my producer partner here, Somya, and I'd really like to be able to, get on weekly and have people come in and share their experiences in life and whatever the topic may be. If you have questions, if you're looking for maybe some solutions or distinctions that you can help overcome some obstacles, I'd love to be that for you. And this is a great opportunity and avenue because I don't want to always every week come here and be speaking to you or at you, even though I like to think that I'm sharing something that could very possibly and hopefully make a difference for you in your life. But please join me. I believe Sonia has thrown up the link here in the post, in the video, in the comments. But yeah, you're more than welcome to join me. It's this show and this program is for you. And I'd love to speak with you wherever you are in the world watching this today. But yeah, so intuition. What's my intuition telling me now? My intuition is telling me that we're going to get someone coming on to have a conversation. And we've got about half an hour left, so we have lots of time for some great conversation. And what I'm being intuitively driven to share with you right now is really a follow-up on my conversation last week, because last week I was sharing how I was going to be part of Tony Robbins Business Mastery. We did a 5-day live event with, we had probably about 3,500 people there from 68 countries. And this program was all about really business and how we survive and thrive in what we would call winter. The economy's down, businesses going out of business, bankruptcies just happening like crazy. How do we survive? And again, they were talking about intuition there, that we have to listen to what's going on around us and be able to see and pick up and recognize what people are wanting and needing. Because, business is really two things, Peter Guber would say, and that's innovation and marketing. So we have to, in the things that we're doing today, is really pay attention and listen to what the people of the world need. And I happen to think, right now, there's a lot of uncertainty. We don't know what's going on in the world, wherever you're watching this today. I know the COVID situation is different everywhere. Here in Vancouver, it's kind of been really strange. They've been tightening things up. There's been a lot of younger people out partying on the streets and beaches and things. And now that we're having mandatory masks in public places, on buses and businesses and things, where, for months, it was almost like it was over. And then all of a sudden it's kind of coming back. So, we got to follow our intuition there and what's right for you, wearing masks, taking care of ourselves. And, it's just important to do what's right for you and what feels right for you. And fear, my friends, is not necessarily intuition, because fear is something that can paralyze us and slow us down. And very often is false evidence that appears real. Fear was, at some point it was part of our reptilian monkey brain that was protecting us so that we could survive. And today, life's a little different. We don't have to fear a lot of the things that we would have back in the days of nature and saber-toothed tigers and jungles and things so much, when we were much more at risk. And now we really need to move forward with peace, with love, with appreciation, logic and common sense, mindfulness, and being respectful, especially because I know there's a lot of division happening in the world. Let's not be divisive. Let's come together and respect and appreciate our differences and agree to disagree if that's what the case is. All right, we've got some questions coming in on the comments. Twain Anderson asked, what is the best trees to connect with to charge up the aura? Well, I'm not partial to any particular tree, because I think, like human beings, all trees need love too, right? I think, if you can get some of these older trees, old growth forests, we've got some beautiful trees here in British Columbia, and some great ancient old growth forests as well. But that's when you're, you're hugging and connecting with a tree that's like thousands of years old. It's a monster. And man, it would have carried so much more, life and energy and history and the stories it could tell. To me, my intuition says those would be some really great trees to connect with, because the wisdom of the ages are locked up in that tree for sharing. But, young trees need love, and any tree, when you're connecting with nature, any nature, anything. Connect with the plants, even the dandelion that people think are weeds, which is by not the truth. Dandelion is a super powerful healing herb, right? They've been using it forever until, one day they decided, they had to do something with some pesticides. But, it's a powerful thing. All nature is fantastic. And I'm sure if we were to take a look at the properties of different trees, that there certainly are some. And I'll talk to my friend Lori Snyder and see what she can share with that, because I'd be curious myself. It's a really great question, Antoine, and thank you for asking. I hope maybe that makes some clarity. But again, like people, all trees need love. And just connect with them and commune with them. Trees are beautiful. The plants are beautiful. All the animals are beautiful. All life matters. And that's the important thing that we need to take from that, right? So, and then he asks, then the next question is, and what is my take on molecular hydrogen water on the body and spirit? Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know anything about molecular hydrogen water. What I do know is that the cleaner, the more direct source of water you can get, the better for our body. I personally don't drink tap water unless it's the only thing around. I even do my best to stay away from water and bottled water, right? In plastic bottles, because man, that water's been in a bottle for so long, in that water's been in a plastic bottle for at least 6 months before we got to, consume it. And who knows what's in those plastic bottles. I personally, here in our home, we have an Ayana water machine, and it's kind of like a Kangen machine if you've ever seen or heard of one of those. But it's got granulated carbon filters. It's ionized water and balances its pH. So I drink a ionized, filtered pH water. Normally, I drink my water at 9.5, sometimes 10, really depending on the alkalinity of my body. And that's another great thing. Alkalinity, I didn't even talk about that. That's another great way to enhance your intuition. Because if you think about it, I said we're electrical creatures, right? We run on synapses and electricity. And in order for that to happen in a better way is to be alkaline versus being acidic. What do I mean by that? Well, look at a battery. When you buy a Duracell, Energizer, or any battery there, a common battery is an alkaline battery, because alkalinity in the battery gives you energy. What happens when you have a battery that's been in an appliance and it's been dead and it hasn't been taken out, and it ends up leaking what? It leaks out acid. So our body's kind of the same way. I was talking about eating highly acidic foods of sugar or alcohol, coffee, meat, dairy, those kinds of things, they plug up our body, right? Our body becomes acidic in its nature. And we have a natural pH place right in the middle. And I think it's about 7.7, 7.6 somewhere. But there's a sweet spot. And if you can alkalize your body in a way that is in balance with nature, you're going to have energy that drives you like the Energizer bunny. People are like, where do you get all your energy? Well, you've alkalized your body. You alkalize and energize. And so the cleaner the body is, the more alkaline you are, you're going to channel that energy and be more intuitive to pick up the messages that are coming from non-visual, non-tactile, non-audio type stimulus. Your body becomes more aware. And again, remember, consciousness is awareness, right? So we become more aware to what's happening, the messages that are coming in. And then our intuition starts thriving. And all of a sudden, we become much more calm and peaceful because we get it. We just get it. We're intuitively connected. All right. And so the next question, Twain, knows the Egyptian used poor energy from the trees. Yeah, I'm not sure about that myself, again, and what the Egyptians used with the energy from the trees. But, there are every plant-based, any living thing has its own energy. And you can measure the energy in megahertz of different plants, of fruits and vegetables, and even silly things like a chocolate cake doesn't have a lot of megahertz energy, but cucumber and almonds and organic fruits and vegetables are really high up there in the energy rating. So that's why, again, the most raw, organic, clean, close to the earth food that you can eat, the better you're going to feel, and better your body's going to operate, and the more attentive will be your intuition. And Twain, thanks for coming on. I think you should join us on the link and come on in person. We can have a conversation. Because now the question is what are my thoughts on grounding for the body and the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere of the brain working together? Well, grounding is it's essential, especially in today's world, because we've got so much going on that we don't ground. And what does that mean by grounding? One of the best ways to ground is barefoot in nature, on the grass, in the forest, whatever that can be, even connecting with the trees and the plants. But it's really to ground your feet into the earth and to just feel solid and to let the energy of, some of the negative energy and things of that, let the earth pull that out from you while it recharges you with the natural energies of the earth. And there becomes an energy exchange that gives you a feeling of, I don't want to use grounding because that's what we're talking about, but just makes you feel at peace, at ease, solid, firm, right? Instead of being all foofy and some of us in the spiritual world, we can get way out there and we're not always coming back to the 3D and grounding in and being solid in our, in our body, in our presence, in our being. So that's my answer to grounding and the importance of it. But you can ground anytime just by taking some deep breaths and slow down. But the best is if you can get out into some nature. I like barefoot. It's just the way to go. I actually live barefoot as much as I possibly can, unless my feet are cold or I have to go somewhere. But I'm barefoot everywhere I go because I like to be grounded and connected, because I can also get out there myself, and it's important for me to keep grounded. I even have an Energy Muse necklace as well. That's full of some great obsidian and different stones and beautiful things that help keep me grounded. And it's interesting. I have a collection of these for different things, and this one's actually quite heavy compared to the other ones that I have, and it's for grounding. So it's keeping me weighed down. It's keeping me solid. It's keeping me firm, right? And that's what I feel with it. This one's very, very grounding for me because it just keeps me in place. Then the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere of the brain working together. Well, that's a gift when we can all get it there. There's people say that so many of us are living in our left brain where we're thinking and logical and reasoning all the time, with our right brain, which is the flow, the artistic, the creative, and that area. I think it's important to have a balance. And it's not always easy for most people or for a lot of people. Yet I think as we evolve in our spirit, in our body, in our consciousness, that we have the ability to flex and flow, because we know some creative people who are very right brain and they're not grounded, they're not logic, they're like herding cats, or great people, no criticism, but they're not in that place of logic, reason, and kind of structure in that sense. So I think it's important to have a balance, because we live in a world that needs that. And that balance also comes when I was talking about within grounding, because you can get some spiritual folks and people are just, we have a technical term for it here in Vancouver. We call it woo-woo, and people get woo-woo and we get way out there and we never kind of come back and ground and use some logic and reason so that we can still navigate this world in a way that can make a difference, a better difference in our lives. Because, anything in moderation, in my opinion, is great. But if we get stuck in one extreme or the other, it can, cause some harm and discomfort for us as human beings. What is the solution? Again, Akash, thank you for asking. And thank you, Antoine, for all your questions. I really appreciate the engagement and the questions. Akash asks, what is the solution to unblock and clear my chakras, especially the lower ones below the heart? And you're very much looking forward to it. Well, I'm not here to disappoint you, so I hope my answer is something that works for you. Well, chakra work, I'm not going to say I'm an expert by any stretch, but I know when I started working with my own chakras, that's when my awakening happened. The first time that I did it was called a chakra dhyana, 5,000-year-old ancient Indian meditation that the seers have been using for 5,000 plus years. And this was the first time I had ever done any work like that. It was probably a 25, 40-minute meditation, somewhere in there. I don't know. I lost track of time. But we focused on each chakra. Each chakra had its own tone and its own color. And we would spend time in a meditation where we would visualize a red, which is our lowest chakra, right at the very bottom of our root of our spine, a red disc, and we would picture it spinning, and we would chant the sound that goes with that, which is long, right? And there's a whole meditation, and you could go through all the different chakras. And I believe it's important to really work with all of them because you want them all to open up. Yet it's true, some of us get stuck in different, sometimes our heart's closed, right? And if we want to have really great intuition and we can release and open up our chakras so energy is flowing more freely, more smoothly throughout our body and throughout the universe, really, it's important to do different chakra work. I recommend finding out what works for you, because for me, it's always been a work in progress. If you're having a problem, with speaking your truth, that's in your throat chakra, right? And you're talking about the one below the heart. That's going to be right in your solar plexus. And that's the one that I'm talking about is right where your intuition kind of lives. It's right in there. And its color is yellow. And you can do some meditations and focus just on that particular chakra. And I always suggest to work with all of them, because you don't want to get them out of balance, even though some of them may already be. And the more you do these meditations and find a teacher in your area, or you can even go online and find some great chakra meditations as well. Go to some sound healings. We're doing another one Saturday with Theta Phoenix. If you guys met Theta Phoenix, she's going to be doing that, and there's some great chakra release work there that happens. So there's many different ways. Yoga is a great way, again, to open up your chakras, because it gets your body moving too. I would ask Akash, how is your posture? Because the one thing I didn't talk about in intuition is our posture. If we're all hunched over all the time, have our shoulders and chest all, bent over, where we're not breathing properly, that's going to affect our intuition and our chakras and our kundalini, right? So, as we have a straight spine, and the more erect our spine can be, the better our communication is going to be for all of our chakras. Because we have our vagus nerve running down our spine, and we want to make sure that all those switches within there, which are all connecting through your chakras, get all turned on. And again, it's a practice. It could happen in a heartbeat. It could take some work. It could take some time. The most important thing is to do something and find some. I would highly recommend a chakra dhyana. If you know anybody in the oneness blessing world, or who works with Diksha, any kind of chakra meditation, just get in there and do that work. I know singing bowls and music can be very, very powerful for moving energy in your chakras. I've got a set of singing bowls. I can see them over here, but I'm not going to get them. But each one is for a different chakra, right? And I've got one, a big, beautiful crystal singing bowl specifically for the heart chakra, the vibration and the key of the heart, to open that up. And this is why music becomes a very, very powerful healing modality, because sound is vibration. Vibration permeates into our body, into every single cell, into the fluid, into the water, into everything that's in us. And it vibrates too, even though you can't see it. And if you pay enough attention, your intuition will feel it, because it's bubbling up and it's creating movement. It's creating a space. Because if we get into quantum physics, every particle that connects, there's always a space in between. And in that gap is where all the communication is happening. So, as the music comes in, it bubbles up our nerves and all these things in our cells, gets everything moving, and it creates an opening. And in that opening, it allows energy to move and energy to flow. And remember, energy, my friends, cannot be created nor destroyed. It's always there. Energy only transforms. So when we talk about energy work and we do different energy work, whether it be Reiki or blessings or, there's pranic work, that's what's happening is we're transforming the energy and we're moving it. We're clearing it out of the body and allowing space for healing to happen. And that's really kind of my take on chakras. They're powerful, powerful things. Good to get them open, good to get them moving. And I'll tell you a funny little story too. I was telling you about my chakra bowls as a gift from a girlfriend of mine a number of years ago, 5-6 years ago. And she was actually one of the catalysts and things that changed my life and got me more into the sound healing. She was the first person who ever took me to a sound journey and everything. And she bought me a set of singing bowls. And I was like, oh, great. I'm not so much of a musician, even though I have music in me. And one day she was giving me a massage and she just followed her intuition, because she had never done this before either. She had just followed her intuition, and she grabbed one of the bowls, and she didn't even know what chakra it was for, but she give the bowl a tap and it made its beautiful sound. And as she was running it along the side of my body, when she got down into my neck and my ear right in here with this bowl as it was making its beautiful sound, all of a sudden my jaw in my skull just started vibrating back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And I was like, whoa, what was that? So she carried on down the rest of my body and she did it again. She did it 3 times. And each time my jaw loosened up and slowed down and vibrated less and less until it didn't anymore. So whatever was in there, my throat chakra, whatever was happening, locking up all of this, and people would think I don't have a problem speaking, and it's true, I don't. I sometimes do have a challenge speaking my truth with certain people. It changed a bunch after that day, but it was just really an interesting observation for me. And then, as a side note to that story, it might have been 6 months later or so, I took I have a friend who's a Tibetan Lama, and he was doing a class on singing bowls, how to properly use and all the things you can use singing bowls for. And lo and behold, guess what one of the things were? For massage, a singing bowl massage. Why? Because the sound, right, vibrates and creates energetic release in the body. And he did this beautiful demonstration to show us where he had a big, beautiful brass bowl. You could literally stand in it, and he filled it with water, and he started it singing. And in that bowl, you could just see all the water bouncing up and down and doing a dance and making ripples. And it was the most beautiful thing. And he said, and this is what's happening in your body, because your body is 90% plus water, right? So that's kind of my take. I might have kind of rambled on a little bit, but there's so many different ways you can work with your chakras. Just start doing something. Notice what's working, notice what's not, and change your approach. Do different practices. But yoga is always great, meditation's always great, and my favorite is a chakra dhyana. That's what I would share with you on chakras, Akash. I hope that somewhat answers your question on that. And Antoine, you asked some really great questions. The next question, how you ever use monatomic elements like monatomic gold, copper, or Iranian? I honestly don't really know much about those sorts of things. I use some different colloidal silvers and coated silver for my own health, which is not monochromatic gold or monoatomic gold, or copper or Iranian. That I'm honestly, I just got to say, Antoine, I honestly don't know the answer to that. I apologize. And Akash says, thanks a lot. Do I have any experience with pranic healing for chakras? I'm looking for specific action to take to address long-term prevailing blocks. if I could possibly message you a healer name, here's the healer name I would share with you on pranic healing. Master Co. Now, Master Co is a pranic healer, and I've met him in the Tony Robbins world. He actually comes to pretty much every event that Tony does, because he does a lot of energy work with the participants, with Tony and his wife. He operates out of San Diego, and I know that he's got a number of things doing, but yeah, his name's Master Co, C-O. And yeah, he's literally amazing. What I love about Master Co is, you have so many people and teachers, practitioners, and gurus. They're always talking about energy and, all of those sorts of things. What I love about Master Co, and I've been in a room with 15,000 people where he does some exercises, very, very simple exercises and meditations where people can actually experience the energy. They can experience the energy in their hands. They can experience the force of energy and the light coming through our crown. We've seen it where it's like gets small and then big. He's opened it up. But now there's a pranic healer who can do a lot of great work, and he teaches how to do it as well. And he was just a regular guy until he had experiences and things with his wife's healing, and the pranic energy really worked. But if I was to speak about anybody as a teacher of pranic healing, the guy I know is Master Co. He's just a beautiful soul and does really great work. Wow, geez, I really thank you a lot for your questions, guys, and participating. It's always a pleasure to know people are watching and getting value of what I'm sharing. And if there's any other questions, we've got a few more minutes left. But I just wanted to say, pay attention, folks. Wake up. It's your wake-up call, right? That's the name of the show. It's your wake-up call. Pay attention to what your body's feeling and what's being communicated to you from outside. We are more than just our five senses. We are more than sight. We are more than smell. We are more than talk. We are more than hearing. We are more than tactile touch. We have a sixth sense. And I'd say we have a seventh, an eighth, and a ninth. ESP, right? Our extrasensory perception is another sense. Our intuition is a sense. And it can be cultivated. Intuition can definitely be cultivated. But it's a practice like anything else, like your yoga practice, like your meditation practice, like your mindfulness practice. And all of those practices help to enhance your intuition. Let's be the guardians of our mind. Let's be the gatekeepers of our minds and the thoughts that we let in, the thoughts that we keep in. Even important, because we have some thoughts that we get in there that we need to get the hell out because they're not even ours, or it's a bunch of BS anyways. We've made some story about something and it's not serving us. So we have to be the guardians of our mind, of our spirit, of our body, because this is where our intuition is going to get magnified. And our intuition will bring us more grace, more calm, more bliss, more love, more peace, more abundance, right? Because that's what we all want. We all want that inner peace, that peace of mind where we can just, live in a beautiful state and be. We are not human doings, folks. We are human beings. And being means to be present, means to be in this moment, not me being physically here, speaking to you, sharing what I'm sharing. Meanwhile, my brain is not out there thinking of what I'm going to do next or where. I'm here with you and I'm being present. So when you have conversations with people and you want authenticity and self-expression and you want your intuition to be on point, be present. Because without being present, your intuition is just kind of bouncing off you. You're not hearing it. You're not present to it. That's why it's presence. Right? Wake up. Wake up to the beauty that's all around us, to the information that's flowing naturally through everything. That's the joy of life. That's the beauty of what really is. We're not out here to be doing. We're not out here to make tons of money and be mass consumers. We're out here to be. We're here to love ourselves first and love each other and make a difference in the world. And one conversation, one good act, whatever that is. And know it's okay to be sad, to be angry, to be hurt, because we all go through different emotions, and that's part of the human experience. Always ask yourself, what can I learn from it? How can I make this better? What needs to change? Because everything that happens is just a sign that something has to change. When we listen to that intuition around it, we can help create that change. All right, Akash has another question before we finish up, and about the thoughts. I've noticed, especially in close relationships, negative messages and condemnations get our attention. Your thoughts on protecting and also ensuring we learn the lessons too. Well, without knowing too much more about what you speak of, Akash, yes, close relationships and negative messages and condemnations, they certainly do get our attention because they hurt, right? And if there's one thing I can say, when that's coming at you, don't take anything personally, folks. Don't. It's kind of part of that monkey mind, the ego, and that little voice in our head that all of a sudden we take it personally. Because if you've been paying attention or watched any of my shows in the past, we all have a need to be loved and appreciated. And the one thing that we fear the most is that we're not enough, rich enough, smart enough, tall enough. So we can get some negativity if we don't meet someone's expectations, or we do something that they deem as wrong by them, right? We give it meaning, and then that meaning creates emotion. That emotion then creates our world and our reality. And I've said it time and time and time and time again. Nothing, wake up to this, folks, nothing, are you awake? Nothing has any meaning except the meaning you give it, the meaning I give it. Whatever is happening, whatever goes on in the fact or the what we would call the happening is just that. The tree falls in the forest. Does it still make a sound? That's the old joke and the cliche, right? Regardless whether it makes a sound or not, the tree fell in the forest. What does that mean? We don't know. We can make a whole bunch of meaning to it. Somebody could say somebody cut the tree down. The tree was old. It was windy. We don't know. We don't know. All we know is the tree fell in the forest. So we have to be great meaning makers. And as human beings, man, this thing is one of the best meaning makers out there, because we want to justify and tell stories so that we can feel good about it, so that we, and we have this culture of blame and doing things right and doing things wrong, and I'm better than you, and you didn't do that right. And it creates this hierarchy of BS, belief systems, and I'm going to say bullshit, because it's not true, right? We got to not take ourselves so seriously and not take things so personally, because you may not like what I'm having to say here right now. I'm not going to take that personally, because I'm only speaking authentically, my own self-expression and my truth. And I'm not going to take it personal. So it's important to understand and seek where the other person's coming from, where the negativity is coming from, because they've got some pain, they've got some hurt. It's coming from somewhere, right? And when we become more aware to understand what's happening with compassion and empathy and an understanding, so that we're not blaming and putting other people down or making them wrong or judging, this is where we have a lot more peace of mind. And this is, when you got stuff going on crazy all around you and it's not even yours, how do you remain calm and centered in all of that? Right? It's a practice. It's a practice of silencing the mind, stilling the body, catching a breath, and being able to take a look at everything around you and make some great decisions. And, because nothing has any meaning, give everything a great meaning, right? Make it an empowering meaning. One of my favorite questions is, what else can this mean? What does this really mean? Right? Could this mean anything else? It's one of the coaching questions we learn in the coaching strategies that I use. Somebody will say something, they might complain about their wife, their partner, their boss, their friends, or whatever, about a situation that happened. Just ask, what else could that mean? And they'll give you a reason. Ask again, what else could that mean? What if you even ask the question, are you sure that's what it means? Are you sure that's what that person was actually really meaning by what they said? Have you ever misinterpreted something that happened and be completely wrong? Right? Nothing has any meaning but the meaning we give it. So give everything an empowering meaning, folks. And Twain says facts. That's great. That's so hard to do. So, and Twain, here's my question for you. Your statement is that's so hard to do. How could it be easy to do? If it were easy, what would that look like? Because remember that great magic phrase, abracadabra. For those of you who know, and those of you who don't, most importantly, it means I create what I speak. With my word, I create abracadabra. So if we're saying that's too hard to do, guess what? You've just cast a spell on yourself, my friend, because that will be hard to do, because that's what you believe. That's your sense of certainty of what's true, that it's going to be hard to do. So my question then is, how can it be easy? How could it be easy to do? If it were easy, what would that look like? What would that feel like? What would you do differently? Right? See, these are where I'm reframing the question for a more empowering answer so that you can lead yourself to get what you want. And Twain, it's a practice. It can happen in a heartbeat that fast. There's no question it can. But it starts with a conscious awareness, because we can't change what we don't acknowledge. So when it's getting hard, step back, take a breath, put your hand on your heart, close your eyes, breathe some nice, beautiful white light into your heart and relax and ask yourself, what else could this mean? How can I show up with grace, with dignity, with appreciation and understanding to this situation? Right? And it's a practice. It's a habit, because the first thing we want to do is react. Our trigger gets triggered. We react, we behave, misbehave, whatever it is that we do, and we're not even aware why we're doing it. So it's a practice so that when it all starts coming up, you can make a decision in the moment before it even happens, because you show up because it's who you are. And, when we all just get along, we all love each other, we all appreciate each other, and we all, recognize that we're all, spirit having a human experience. And for a lot of us on this planet, you're right, it's not always easy. Yet that's the balance of mastering, our own inner peace, so that whatever's going on around us, even if our lover and our partner, we've all been kind of heartbroken and stuff at times. But we have to know that we're good. We're solid in ourselves. Akash says, her view messages are quite authentic. Connecting with your experience makes it more fresh. Yes, for sure. It's not to ever deny the experience, because your experience is your experience. For me, it comes down to, if it's not an experience that you enjoyed, it's seeking to understand. And I'm a seeker. I like to understand why I do what I do, why others do what they do. So I don't have to do the stupid things I've done and the stupid things I'm sure I'll continue to do in the future, but I seek to understand myself. And I give myself, some slack. I don't beat myself up over things, because I learn from it. The only time anything's a mistake or a failure is if you don't learn from it, right? So it's like, look at everything as a learning opportunity. And then how can I make it better? How can I understand what's going on with this person? And when we can get ourselves into a habit of looking at things in that way, it gives us a much stronger, deeper, grounded sense of certainty into who we really are, so that we can show up and be a stronger force in the world for good and transformation. Thank you very much, everyone, for tuning into your wake-up call today. My name is Marc Caron. Our topic today was intuition. So if you want to strengthen your intuition, here's some top things. Good posture. Keep your spine straight, right? Have a clean body. Eat well, eat clean, lean, nutritious, delicious, organic foods. yoga, meditation, cleansing and detoxing is always great. Meditation is fantastic. And read some books, do some Google searches. There's so much out there on intuition that this is just really scratching the surface. Hopefully I've gotten you inspired to take a little deeper dive into your own intuition and some of the changes you can make so that you too can have a better everyday life, not just for yourself, but for others and the ones you love. Thank you so much, everyone. We're going to be signing off. Oh, I'm going to read the last comment here, Akash. Thank you so much for your participation, guys. Akash says, also, we sometimes want to make it work. So sometimes creating boundaries, having self-discipline, not taken personally, are the way to go. Yes, Akash, and I will tell you, I spent years in a relationship that I was working to make it work. My intuition, that was the subject of the show, I should have listened to. I was in a relationship for 12 years that really I should have been outed in the first year, if we're talking about relationships specifically. But you know what? I didn't want to be rejected. I love this woman. I was going to make it work. I had hope, but I wasn't listening to my gut. What I was listening to was my fear of being alone, of not finding anyone else, of, being damaged goods and all of those things. And this goes back to like 2002, right? So, over the journey, I've done my work that way. But we have to be true to ourselves. We have to communicate with our partners authentically, honestly, not in a hurtful way, but in a way that we are heard, the way that we actually hear them communicate as well, and really being honest with each other. That's what it's really about. But it's just one of those things that, let's respect the boundaries. Let's have the discipline, and let's keep ourselves authentically connected with love, appreciation. We can solve and create anything we want. So thank you very much, everyone. It's Marc Caron signing off from the Wake Up Call. We'll see you again next week. Take care.